Hello everybody and welcome back to Full Throttle Drive. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. So today we're going to talk about the C8 Corvette, and I've received a ton of messages as well as comments on my previous videos asking for an overview video of the C8 Corvette. Now, a lot of you guys that follow my channel, I do lots of videos and you already have most of this knowledge, but I've been asked to make kind of a video that's comprehensive, talking about everything we know. So if someone was to watch this video, they would be up to date with all of the basic knowledge on the upcoming mid-engine Corvette. So I wanted to do that today for you all. So obviously the first thing that we need to talk about is the platform of the C8 Corvette. Now the current generation, the C7 Corvette, all the way back to the C1 Corvette has been the same type of platform, and that is with the engine in front of the driver and passenger. However, we are now having the biggest platform change we have ever seen, and that is where the engine is going to be moved behind the driver and the passenger. It's a rear mid-engine platform layout, and that's where all this buildup of this anxiousness has been for the new C8 Corvette. People don't know how they're going to feel about it, but there's also going to be a lot of pros. One thing to note is that one of the original engineers that worked on the Corvette, he had a lot of influence with it, said that that was the design we should move to. It was met with a lot of criticism and it never happened at that time. And since then, over the last 60 years, we've seen multiple attempts at building a rear mid-engine design layout, but it's always flopped and never actually come to fruition. However, it looks like this time that will not be the case. Now, the reason you would want a major platform change like this is because we're starting to hit the limits of what's capable out of a rear-wheel drive vehicle that has the engine placed in the very front. And so by moving it to the back of the car, you have the ability to change the weight distribution. And so you can get better handling and better braking. Now, acceleration figures can be slightly changed as well, but for the most part, it's all about track times or handling. And that is a huge plus that you get from a rear mid-engine layout. Next, let's talk about the power plant of the new C8 Corvette. Now, we don't have complete confirmation yet, but we do believe that we will see some type of V8 in this new C8 Corvette. We believe there could be one of two motors used in it. The first would be some type of reworked 6.2 liter V8, a lot like an LT1 engine, and it would make about 500 horsepower. The other thing that we've heard is possibly a twin turbocharged V8 that would make over 500 horsepower and would actually feature a flat plane crank system, and this is pretty neat. Now, we're talking about the base model here, and each model could have a different engine. One thing to note is we probably are looking at 3 different models, just as we currently have: a base, some type of Z06, and a ZR1. And the one thing I do want to talk about is sources are confirming that the highest model in the ZR1 of the C8 Corvette platform could be a 1,000 horsepower hybrid system. Again, we don't have all of the details yet, but this is really cool because they are trying to up their game with this new platform change. They really want to compete with these extra supercar vehicles out there like Ferrari and Lamborghini. So let's talk about pricing, and I would say this is probably the biggest topic that I get the most questions, probably also the most controversy, and that is because this huge platform change makes people think that the new Corvette will be incredibly expensive. A lot of people, even some of the sources that I've heard, have said over $100,000, but again, I've made a video before talking about this. I gave my reasoning, and basically it comes down to the fact that Chevrolet knows their buyers, and they would be pricing most of those buyers out of the market if they do price it at over $100,000. That's what a lot of people have said. I truly believe that we will see some sort of pricing at about $70,000, give or take $5,000. We could see 65 all the way up to 75. Now, you add options, it can get more expensive. So you're looking at a C8 Corvette that will cost more than the base price of a C7, but for a massive platform change, I don't think it will be that bad. One thing I do want to add, that it will be a very expensive top tier model. The current ZR1 price is at about $150,000, and if we do see some sort of ZR1 that is a 1,000 horsepower hybrid, it will be very expensive. My guess would be over $200,000 if the current model of the ZR1 is already $150,000. So let's go ahead and move on to the transmission of the new C8 Corvette. And this is where a lot of people are a little bummed because from what we know, they are only going to offer at the beginning a dual clutch transmission for the new C8 Corvette. And the reason they're doing that is they're trying to, again, make themselves more competitive with current supercars. A dual clutch transmission will only increase the performance, and you can't deny the fact of how fast a shift can be taken now with a dual clutch. Now, a lot of purists out there that really want a manual will be bummed, but one side note I do want to say is that we have read that there is a patent that has been filed by GM for a clutch-by-wire system, and it would be a manual clutch, which is really neat. Again, sources are saying we won't see this on the first entry, but we could eventually have an option added down the road for the C8 Corvette. So luckily not all hope is lost just quite yet. I do want to talk a little bit about the interior of the new C8 Corvette, and we just not too long ago had leaked photos, and it looks really nice. One thing I do want to say is when I owned my C6 Corvette, it wasn't a terrible place to be, but I did test drive a C7, and the C7 generation of Corvettes made a huge leap forward in interior. A lot of people knew the Corvette as a performance bargain, but it really wasn't that nice in creature comforts, but that has changed with the C7, and it looks like the C8, they're even upping that a little bit more, and as you can see from some of these pictures, they are using a lot of nice materials. They have metals and leather and even some composite materials that look really nice in throughout the cabin. However, with this change, there has been a lot of criticism. A lot of people don't know how they feel about this huge change in look of the interior cabin. There's now a center console stack, as you can see, that has lots of buttons. It does look a lot different. The C7 interior was very well received because it was made nicely, but it didn't change a huge look. There was a small change, but not as big as we are going to with the C8 Corvette interior. Another topic that I certainly want to hit on is talking about how close the current renders are to the C8 Corvette. Now, a lot of people with this huge change have been turned off a little bit by the renderings. However, I think they're getting really close. I personally like the new C8 layout very nicely. I think it's going to be a huge up in handling and performance, but the overall design layout, in my opinion, looks pretty good. The rear of the car looks a little boxy, and a lot of people have commented, which I agree with, that it maybe looks a little bit like a Camaro, and I'm hoping when you actually see it in person that can change. Remember, renderings, as close as they are, does look different in person. Cars don't always look like they do in videos and pictures, but I believe the renderings are getting very, very close, and the reason we think this to be the case is that the C7 Corvette, even before we actually saw it, before it was unveiled, they had renders, and as you can see in the pictures, they were very close. There were some small things tweaked towards the end, right before production. However, for the most part, they were spot on, and we believe the new renderings to be spot on. The individuals that do these do such a fantastic job, and I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far. Another really popular question that I get is when will this car actually be available? And we're not 100% sure, but we're pretty sure that it will be unveiled sometime this summer, maybe early fall. And that's because we know that production is most likely going to start in December. We had originally heard that it may be a little bit earlier than that, but with an electrical issue that they had, it looks like it's been pushed back to December. Nevertheless, the car will be out, and a lot of people are already actually making deposits. Some of the bigger volume dealers out there are making deposits, and some have even been making deposits for years for their specialty buyers. But this all means that effectively the new C8 Corvette will most likely be a 2020 model year Corvette. One really neat feature that I do want to include in this video is that the new Corvette will get some type of active aero, and active aero has been shown just how beneficial it can be to handling. Again, we've talked about that the new C8 Corvette is going to be a lot about handling. They want to keep up with these cars on the track, especially for people that will buy this and use it for track use. And so by doing active aero, you really can increase that available handling to the driver, and we've seen that in the Performante and several other types of vehicles. Now with this, we believe that this is why we're seeing an electrical issue. All of these components, all of these options offered on the new Corvette could be what's pushing back production and delaying it all in all. We could see active aero in the side skirts, even on the rear spoiler. All those could be active, and there could be some airflow active, which means that it actually can make resistance to help with handling. It's amazing what they can do, and they can do that with all of the patents that they've filed, which is another video I made. If you want to watch any of those videos, make sure you check them out in my playlist category. Now, the very last thing that I do want to talk about is, will I be buying a C8 Corvette? And the short answer to you is yes, I do want to buy one. I think that it would be an awesome car to own. I think GM is going to do a great job with it. Now, a lot of people say you don't want to buy the first model year, but if I did buy it, it would come with a warranty, and there usually is a lot of capabilities for extending that warranty if I wanted to hold it for a long period of time. The other thing is I would get to share it with you guys. As my YouTube channel grows, there's a lot more of you that are interested in that, and so I think it would be great for the channel. Now, what would happen with my current Audi R8, I'm not 100% sure. It would depend a lot on pricing for the new C8 Corvette by the time I spec'd it out, how expensive it was. The other thing I've noted to you guys that I may be looking at adding a C7 to the garage for this summer. I need to replace my current Acura TL driver, and I really would love the value you can get out of a cheap C7 Corvette, and what it would allow me to do is trade that in plus cash on a C8 Corvette, and that may be an option for this channel. Make sure you subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all of that. Well, everyone, that wraps up today's video. I tried to hit on the biggest points and not get too caught up in the small details to give you an idea that if you watch this video, now you are aware of the basics and are caught up all on the new 2020 C8 Corvette. I can't wait to see it. I really think they're going to do a great job on it. If you thought I missed anything, please drop them in the comments. I love hearing what you guys have to say, as well as what are your thoughts on the new Corvette? Do you like it? Are you not impressed? What do you think? I will converse with all of you guys down there, and I truly appreciate all of your support. I cannot thank you all enough. If you found today's video informative or helpful, please support us and hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We would absolutely love to have you on the community. As always, take care. I'll see you next video.